The season starts here. Guardiola said it, didn't he? And he's right. I think we've had the international breaks. We've had all of the, if you like, obstacles, the hurdles. But now suddenly it's consistency all the way through to next spring. And I think as far as Liverpool are concerned, now we'll get to see the real Liverpool. Now, I've got to predicate everything I'm saying by saying I still am of the opinion that this won't be a title-winning season for Liverpool. I think they've had too much trauma from the summer. I think they've had a disrupted preparation for this season, physically and emotionally. And it's a lot to ask of these young men to try to put that emotional intensity into their sporting commitments. But they have spent a lot of money, and there is an expectation that they will complete these commitments. But it's a lot. I think we'll see the best of the Liverpool side next season. But I know that Slot even today in this press conference was talking on Friday about the loss of Jota. And I think as far as the other teams at the top of the Premier League are concerned, they don't have that. Yeah, they'll be grateful not to have that. But I think as far as Liverpool are concerned, it's a difficult one.
Alexander Isak, naturally, with Liverpool is the talking point because of the way he arrived there, because of this protracted transfer drama around him. It looks like he's going to feature because he was a substitute for Sweden in the international break. Still waiting to break his Premier League duck for Liverpool, though. How much does that play on your mind?
Yeah, it's playing on his mind because, of course, because, you know, you talk about the fee and, you know, you come in with such a massive reputation. But I think what people need to understand that is when you've not had a pre-season, it's difficult. It's so hard. A pre-season is so important. You know, the training, the conditioning, the games to prepare you for the season. And hopefully you start the season well. When you've missed that and you're not trained in a group, you're training with a fitness coach, you just lose so much. You cannot replicate the game. You just can't. So he's going to need time. He's going to need time for sure. But of course, it's difficult because centre forwards you want to play, and when you're not playing and there's someone else playing ahead of you and they're scoring goals and the fans are singing their name, naturally, no one's going to like that. You know, even though, of course, you know, if you're winning football matches, it's about the team. But at the same time, he'd be desperate to score goals and show these Liverpool fans how good he is.
There is some good news for them, though, in terms of players returning. And then they also, you know, have had some bad news because Florian Wirtz is out now and Conor Bradley. That raises questions about who plays at right back because Frimpong's not returned enough. It's been tricky for them. It's been a bit like that. But Alisson returning is a huge plus.
Yeah, Alisson is a massive plus. Huge. But I think with Liverpool, you know, you spoke about the trauma. You know, it's difficult to understand what these players are going through. Yeah. Even when I played, I remember players that you were really close to that, you know, that left the club and joined another club. That was hard enough. So you can imagine what these players are going through. So of course it's going to be difficult. I don't think you can win the league at this stage of the season. But of course you can lose it now.
Were you at West Ham when they lost Mark Vivian Foe?
I was in the youth team. Right. So, I've sort of like trained with him.
And so you kind of understood the impact it has on a club?
Of course, yeah, because you can never prepare yourself for anything like that. And as teammate, you become a family. You're so close, you know, in football you're so close. And, you know, from the stuff that we've heard about this young man and how he was around the place, and so it's infectious, and how he was so loving, an unbelievable player. Brought so much to the dressing room, then all of a sudden he's just gone. You know, like I said before, it's hard to actually find words to describe what that would be like for these players. And we've seen Salah in certain games where he's emotional on the pitch. So it's tough. So, you know, are we surprised that, you know, this has happened? And not only that as well, the new signings, you know, that takes time. You know, these players that have come in, they're all top players, but these players need time. The only one really that you could say that's hit the ground running is probably Ekitike. He's been fantastic since. It's almost like he's been there for years.
Yeah. Surely Liverpool, pound for pound, can just take people on punch for punch and just win more games. I don't understand why they're not. I like the way they were playing in the first few weeks.
Listen, there's probably so many things. What are we going to just repeating ourselves? And we probably all said it at different times. Was Salah ever going to have the same season? Again, he was possibly going to have. Canate's fell off a cliff. You know, things like that make a big difference. McAllister's never quite been 100% fit. Sometimes he plays 3 games. So I think there's lots of little things. But you know what, for being totally honest, when you actually look at the games they've lost and the type of games they've lost, they can't handle the physicality of the Premier League this season. They can't. You know, when you think of teams that lack something, they normally let you down away from home against teams who have a physical game, if you like, and a physical nature. And they've gone missing so often in away games. They're fine at Anfield. I've seen it. I think the record, they only lost one, which is the Man United game. I think they lost 22 at home, I think, in the Premier League. So they're fine at home and they've got the fans with them. They feel comfortable.
Homers.
But yeah, Homer. So with the... they're just lacking a little bit of... I don't think... The simplest way of saying it, I think, is that Liverpool were sort of... Arne Slops wanted to move Liverpool. Oh, thank you. I think Slot, when you listen to Slot talk about Liverpool last season, even though they won the league, he always talks about every game sort of went to the wire. They only won by the odd goal. He almost wanted to have more football, more goals, more entertainment. He loved... When you hear him speak about Paris Saint-Germain last season, it's like, oh my God, that's the football I want. I want it. That's amazing. Even last week when he played... Yeah. So when he played Man City last week, he's talking of Pep like he's his hero. Do you know what I mean? And he is, probably is, isn't he, for probably a lot of coaches. That's his football. And I think the Premier League, he's trying to push Liverpool even more this way. And I think the Premier League's actually probably gone back in terms of physicality. So his team's probably a little bit weaker. And, the Premier League's now everyone's just giant set pieces, long throws, and the team can't cope with it.
How is he going to fix it, Jeremy?
I'm not sure he can... I don't think this group of players is equipped to win the league this year, even with the points and how far behind. Liverpool don't have a lot of pace, really, when you think of the wide areas. Sarah's not a flying machine. Now, Gakpo's not really. But I just think maybe more physicality in the team, more pace, more power.
They'll regret that decision as well at Gahey in the summer, won't they?
Oh, it's a bad mistake.
That looks worse now the more you look at it.
Yeah.
How they didn't get all over the place as well.
Yeah. I think it was Liverpool are known as being like sort of really smart in the market, and I get that, and not paying over the odds, and really, really good at selling. But this thing of like, we've only got a year to go. We've got you by the year, the town halls type of thing. On the last day of the window, you have to give us 35 million, and they pull out of it. And you just think that could cost them. I think if Liverpool don't sign a centre back.
Right, let's speak live to someone who knows Liverpool inside out. That's James Pearce from The Athletic. James, thank you so much for joining us, mate. Let's get straight into it. What do you think has been the main reason for Liverpool's drop in form this season?
Yeah, I think it's that defensive vulnerability that stands out more than anything else. You just look at the numbers. It's 17 goals conceded after 11 games compared to 6 conceded at the same time a year ago. They've been too easy to get at. I wouldn't just point the finger of blame just at the back line. I think, there's, in midfield, they've been too easy to play through. And at the top end of the pitch, they haven't pressed as well as they did last season as a unit. So, various mitigating circumstances for that, with, new players still adjusting to their surroundings, injuries which have contributed to key personnel not being at the same level as well. But that's the biggest thing that Slot has to change, especially think of set pieces, and when teams have gone direct against them, too often they've wilted.
Yeah, you mentioned the new players there and their time to adapt. I mean, when they were signing those players, everyone was pretty much saying the league's wrapped up already for Liverpool. Do you think they almost got their summer business a bit wrong? Almost brought in too many of those straightaway starters.
I don't think they got it wrong. I think one, it's too early, I think, to be making kind of sweeping judgments. We're only 11 games into the league season, and also a lot of the changes were enforced. When you think, Trent Alexander-Arnold on, to Real Madrid, Gerald Kwanzaa, Harvey Elliott, players like this wanted to leave in search of more game time. I think everyone was in agreement it was the right time to kind of draw a line under Darwin Núñez's Liverpool career. Luis Diaz, wanted the kind of money that Liverpool just weren't prepared to offer him. So, at the time, everyone was saying that was a deal that made perfect sense given his age. So, I think, you have to say only so far the only summer signing who's really hit the ground running is Hugo Ekitike. But too many of the others, I think it's too soon to judge. Alexander Isak, the buzz around his signing, but he just hasn't been fit enough to contribute. Florian Wirtz is still clearly adjusting to the physicality of the Premier League. So, Jeremy Frimpong has had 2 hamstring problems, so that's been an issue. the moment, when you look at they're about to embark, Saturday against Forest is the first of 7 games in the space of 22 days, and they've obviously only got 3 established senior centre backs, having lost Giovanni Leone to that season-ending ACL injury. If anything was to happen to Virgil van Dijk or Ibrahima Konate, they would be in big trouble, because also Slot has been reluctant to turn to Joe Gomez so far this season. His only 2 starts have been in the Carabao Cup. So, I think it's something that they really do need to look at, because if they were to suffer another injury in that department, it could potentially, really wreck hopes of salvaging something from this season. Mark Gay is the one, obviously, that everyone's talking about, but I think it's going to be difficult to get him in January when, Palace obviously pulled the plug on deadline day, and the decision they made then was they were going to keep hold of him for the last year of his contract. And I do doubt whether Liverpool are going to be willing to pay the kind of money that would kind of test that resolve at Palace for someone who, of course, they can get for free next summer. And also, from the player's viewpoint, it's much more lucrative for Mark Gay to move as a free agent next summer rather than in January.
Well, you have no Wirtz, no Conor Bradley.
Well, actually,
no Gabriel at Arsenal.
Florian Wirtz is an interesting. He continues to be an interesting one, because he played well for Germany against a poor Slovakia side, it has to be said. But he did play well, created chances, and it would have been interesting to see. But for this injury.